It wasn't until October 7th where all of a sudden he's like, actually, Andrew Tate's a bad guy because now I'm impacted. By the way, Ben, mustache is not helping you, bud. He's not even really a conservative. He's embraced by conservatives, but he just says anti-progressive shit. And the conservatives are like, yeah, we'll take this guy. He does some shit Hustlers University that teaches you to hate women and just steals your money at a chance of making it big. It's an idiot tax. It's the lottery. It's so cowardly to pretend to be so harsh against Tate, which deserves to be harsh against, when your biggest complaint with him like years ago at his absolute most disgusting and worst was that he made a joke about how he'd rather bang a 10 out of 10 trans woman than a 3 out of 10 cisgender woman. Like, wow, so brave, King. All right, guys, it's time to get this going. I think this is Ben Shapiro's second call out of Andrew Tate. So brave, King. So brave. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of annoying because, listen, Andrew Tate's just a fundamentally bad person. We can put aside all the leaks that we've seen that shows that he is a horrific human being that takes advantage of women. It's the beginning of the video, so I can't be specific. But even outside of that, from what we absolutely, well, we know all that other stuff too, but what we absolutely do know is that he had like a webcam business and he did a bunch of like things that would never align with the conservative sphere. And Ben Shapiro did not call him out, except for when he made a joke about how he would rather do a 10 out of 10 trans woman than like a 3 out of 10 cisgendered woman. And Ben Shapiro's like, no, actually, you should. This guy is a literal gooner going around sleeping with women and promoting violence, whether you think they're jokes or not, being completely obnoxious. And people on the right, like Ben, were just like, oh, I want to be audience adjacent. I want to be audience adjacent to Andrew Tate. It wasn't until October 7th where all of a sudden he's like, actually, Andrew Tate's a bad guy because now I'm impacted. By the way, Ben, mustache is not helping you, bud. Seems a little strange. So, like, cool, man. Like, awesome. Now you want to call him out again? Like, now that it's safe for him. You didn't say anything when it was like he was the peak piece of shit because you could capitalize off of it and you were afraid of upsetting your audience. But now you want to criticize him? It's like it comes off as so disingenuous. It's just so silly. But I guess I'm still curious. The right should dump Andrew Tate. Wow, so brave, King. Now that he's already at like the lowest, like his lowest. So brave, King.
Well, folks, it's going to be a very big week. President Trump's nominees for his cabinet are going to get hearings this week, maybe votes this week.
Oh my God, I'm going to go to Home Goods for my cabinet.
All the fallout from the fires in California for one-time presidential contender Gavin Newsom. Plus, we're going to get into all of the
We're not going to watch that part. We're just here for Andrew Tate.
Controversies.
Wildfires are a tragedy. I'm sure that there are some infrastructure problems. We also know that global warming is a factor as well. They had horrific winds and horrific heat and a horrific drought. I don't think that you can magically get enough reservoir water to put out every single house in the area and like really control that fire in a robust way. Sometimes God has a way of fucking giving us a stone cold stunner, and it just sucks. And like, I feel like we live in an age where we wish we could do more, and we're like, we have so much technology. Why can't we stop this, or this? And sometimes things are just out of our control, beyond a reasonable doubt. You know, we could sit here and we could talk about how Trump did a bad job covering COVID, but at the end of the day, sometimes we are a society of 330 something million people, and sometimes you're just never going to get it perfect, and it's horrible. And we should be there to support people, and sitting there and doing our best to try to make politics out of an actual tragedy, national disaster is pathetic. I think it's disgusting, and it's something Trump has done. When there were all the hurricanes going on, the first thing he said is Biden refuses to help anybody, even though Biden had already talked to everybody and given everything that they wanted. And it's like, you know, this is just not the time. It's just not the time. It's ridiculous. So I just cummed. Sorry. Okay.
Surrounding Andrew Tate on the right. First, your reminder.
Probably not helping myself by being so immature, huh?
Get ready. In exactly 1 week, we will be live on the ground in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration of Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States. Watch live. Join the fight at dailywire.com/subscribe. I want to start today with...
Hope he does well. That's all I got to say. I really love this country.
A controversy that erupted online, but is sort of indicative of a broader problem that the right currently has.
I agree. Broads are problems.
With, say, the influencer class. This controversy erupted because currently has erupted online, but is sort of indicative of a broader problem that the right currently has with, say, the influencer class.
Yeah, it's because the right will accept everybody because it's a dying perspective. Conservatism fundamentally is a dying perspective. It needs to exist in some capacity. We need to make progress as a society. And what conservatives do is they say, let's slow down. That's like fundamental to the process. It's a good process to happen. But like right now, conservatives, not unfortunately, and not all of them, but like at least online influencers are so willing to accept the actual bottom of the barrel, disgusting, degenerate, worthless pieces of shit because they just need more people on their side. And so they'll take horrific people like Andrew Tate, an actual threat to women, to the male perspective, to everybody, and they'll go, this is the guy. This is the guy we want. Yeah, he's cool because he says some things that maybe are kind of conservative leaning. And it's not even that. It's not even that he says things that are conservative leaning. It's that he says things that are anti-progressive. He's not even really a conservative. He's embraced by conservatives, but he just says anti-progressive shit. That's literally his whole shtick. And the conservatives are like, yeah, we'll take this guy. Okay, great.
This controversy erupted because Benny Johnson had on Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, for those who don't know, is an online provocateur.
Who the fuck is Benny Johnson? What?
He is mostly famous for one time being a kickboxer, and now he sort of runs around with his shirt off with fancy cars.
And he sex traffics and rapes women. Also, he was known for more than that. He's known for running literally having a sex webcam business. Even if you don't think there's a legality there, that's antithetical to the conservative perspective, no?
And good-looking women, and smokes cigars, and says some things that are sort of useful critiques of the left, but mostly says crazy stuff online. And he has generated an enormous following. So Benny Johnson had on Andrew Tate, and he also had on at the same time Alina Habba, who is a counsel for the Trump team. Okay. And Alina Habba was really praising Tate, and so was Benny Johnson.
Wow, what a bunch of losers.
And this erupted into a controversy. Here's what that sounded like.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
You guys can't afford better mics? They're not even that expensive. I'm not trying to be rude. This microphone, I think, new was like $80. Samson SQ or Q2U or something like that. Okay, cool. Sorry.
Well, nice to meet you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
Yeah, so this guy here, just to be clear, I think he's pretending to run for some kind of political position in the UK or something. It's never going to happen. It's just it's a stunt because idiots fall for it. This is performative. Andrew Tate doesn't like Trump. Andrew Tate is like very pro-Palestine. Trump is not. But he's pretending to like Trump because that's the audience he needs. That's why he goes on and he just says slurs and tries to rile up a bunch of dumb, ignorant, fuck white people that love Trump. Again, you're conservative. That's fine. MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters are psychopath cult leaders. Or excuse me, not leaders. They can't lead anything. Cultists. Just to be clear.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And
saving America, baby.
Anger is the same that President Trump has for our country, and
I don't think Trump cares, man. He's just a millionaire that's knocking off a bucket list item. I can almost respect it.
The time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment, and I also have to say that I sympathize with you because I think you go through a lot of the same. Show me the person.
Don't be a fucking wimp, dude. Don't be a fucking wimp. Start going to the gym, dude. We're coming out with a sleeper build, all right? I sit here with this angle on purpose. You go, oh, what a fat fuck. He probably plays World of Warcraft neckbeard. Maybe. But you want to know what? In the middle of this year, excuse me, it's going to be fucking insane. All right? You're going to see that I'm 6'4", not on my tippy toes. Actually, I'm getting older. I'm getting compressing, so probably 6'3". We still say 6'4". We're coming out with a sleeper build, okay? We're squatting 4 places here.
That President Trump has gone through.
Okay, what Alina Habba is saying there is not actually true about Andrew Tate. He is not of the same ilk as President Trump.
I think he might be, based on some of the things that Trump's been accused of. Nah, Andrew Tate's much worse. So
the person, and I'll find you the crime. That is true of President Trump. That is not particularly true of Andrew Tate. And Russell Brand, of course, rushed to the defense of all of this. Russell Brand then suggested that anyone who objected...
Isn't that the guy who got in a huge controversy for like actively, knowingly dating a 16-year-old girl that was still in school? Well, it's legal. He was like 40 or something. It's like, oh, what a gross piece of shit.
To the treatment of Andrew Tate on the right, that they need...
Like, even if it's illegal, why do you Why would you be okay with somebody who does that? You should be like, this guy's gross. Like, that's disgusting. Like, why didn't people be like, I gotta stay away from this guy? You should just know better than to be like 40 or however old he was talking to like a kid. Like, it doesn't matter if it's legal or not. You're just like, yeah, you know, I'm still gonna watch this guy. You're gonna watch this guy who you can't even let around your children. What is wrong with you?
You need to sort of check their...
It's fucking gross. Like, you're just a fucking weirdo, gross person.
...problems at the door. Here was what Russell had to say.
Someone like Andrew Tate, with the audience he has.
Wow, I think he actually took this hat from one of the 16-year-old girls he tries to sexually harass all the time. Maybe this entire outfit. This is really nice.
Could make a significant difference if correctly backed. He does say some stuff that's pretty out there, but the fact is, in a democracy, if someone is able to glean popular support, they can have a mandate, they should be represented. I suppose what's more significant and interesting to me is the way that figures like Andrew Tate or Tommy Robinson have always been maligned, I think, to place an impassable threshold around systems of influence and power. You can have your own views of Andrew Tate. You might think he's misogynistic or vulgar, but the fact is...
I think I know he's a sex trafficking rapist that groomed a bunch of women. Everything is so out there. It's so easy to find. And we know your shit, too, where you were fucking around with like a 16-year-old girl as a grown-ass man. So I wonder why you don't care very much about all the disgusting shit they say about Tate. I mean, who the fuck... who could guess? I don't even know. What a guy. I'm actually literally jorking it right now.
He appeals to a lot of people, and he represents some things that a lot of people are very interested in.
Yeah, so just to be clear, if Andrew Tate says something that you're interested in, you're just worthless. I don't know what to tell you. There's always going to be things that all of us will say, good or bad, that some people can identify with. That doesn't mean that they're good people. And frankly, if there's a person who's 99% bad and 1% good, just to be real, there's no reason to acknowledge they're good because they're so worthless. There's no reason to even leave room to humanize actual pieces of garbage. Why would I do that? That's absolutely insane. Why would I try to have a both sides conversation about one of the most disgusting representations of weak men that I've ever seen in my entire life? Why would we do that? Yeah, well, he hates women. He's incredibly abusive. He promotes really dangerous relationships. But you know what? He likes a good thick pizza slice. Fuck him! I love this guy so much. He likes a big thick pizza slice. What? What are you stupid? Almost had a slur. It just blows my mind, like how willing we are to accept actual fundamentally bad people. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. It's fucking wild.
Okay, so I think that the way that some people are defending Andrew Tate today is a conflation of a couple of different ideas.
Yeah, because you guys are too comfortable with... You guys don't disavow scumbags in your fucking party.
So I think there is a big difference between having people on, have whoever you want on. That's totally fine. Man. Free speech and all the rest. That's totally fine. And cheering on bad people who don't actually care.
I will be honest, though. I do kind of like Ben Shapiro. I do. I like the way that he treats he seems to love his wife a lot. That's something I like a lot. I don't agree with all of his political takes, obviously. But I like him. I think he's a smart guy. I think he can be reasoned with. You know, I don't think, I'm sure that there are things that Shapiro says that are probably like grifty. But generally speaking, I think he's a generally honest guy, you know. But, you know, put a girl on.
About your principles. And Andrew Tate...
Plus he's short, not threatening.
is the latter. Now, again, let me say right at the outset, I am not upset at all with anyone actually just interviewing Andrew Tate. Go for it.
Oh, we get it, Ben. You're trying to be safe.
Have at it. There are tons of excellent questions to ask Andrew Tate. But none of these people are asking Andrew Tate any of those questions. Instead, a lot of people are sort of glomming onto his very online popularity in order to get clicks. And some people...
It's really only It's really only Twitter popularity nowadays.
Are dishonestly conflating interviewing Andrew Tate with cheering for Andrew Tate or applauding him or talking about how brave and wonderful he is. And Andrew Tate is not brave and wonderful. He rips off thousands of people with his Scam Hustlers University.
Thousands of young men, just to be absolutely clear. Thousands of young desperate men who are like legitimately struggling in a tough time where we are very online. Who are the ones that are supposed to hit on girls? Men. Who is the one that hits girls? Me, my wife. I'm kidding. She hits me. And when we have this online atmosphere where everybody, like, nobody really goes outside and approaches people in public, and when you do, it's seen as more weird because it's not as normal. People aren't going to as many outdoor social gatherings. It's tough for a dude. It's tough for a dude, and, your sack's full. And I hate to boil it all down to that, but I was a very energetic young man. I still am. And so, like, sometimes it's just like these guys want to get out there and get like an outlet to like talk to girls and date them and like, have mutual fun and like, experience relationships and have physical touch and like build relationships and to change yourself around the person you're dating, because that's what happens. You change yourself around people who you date, which is a good and bad thing depending on what you change. But like compromitic relationships are great. I'm a better man being with my wife. Right? I was a worse man with other people. They were probably worse because they were with me. Right? But like that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing of like we're lacking in that relationship, and that's what he takes advantage of. These young men who are like, I really just want, I really just want. And instead of offering the real solution of, trying to get outside, of trying to get outside and trying to figure out new ways for these young men to date, he does some bullshit Hustlers University that teaches you to hate women and just steals your money at a chance of making it big. It's an idiot tax. It's the lottery. It's a moron tax, unfortunately. And that's what Andrew Tate's Hustler University is. At least it gives them something to believe in, but these are people who would believe in anything. Literally anything, okay? They would believe very deeply in religion, which is probably a much better outlet. They would deeply believe in Taylor Swift's new album. It doesn't really matter. They're just looking for something to latch onto. These are people who are very desperate, and they just want something that makes them feel heard, okay?
Preaches the virtue of treating women in a way you would never, ever allow anyone to treat your wife or your daughter.
Based.
No one is saying you can't have Andrew Tate on your show. It's a free country. You should do what...
Yeah, you just shouldn't enable all of his shit. That's it.
What you want. What I'm saying is that if you say you're conservative and then you have someone who truly is disgusting on and you proceed to tout them, praise them, nod along to everything they say, cheer them, you're doing more than platforming, which again is fine. Platforming, the idea that you can never have a conversation. You can have a conversation with whomever you want, but there's a difference between having a conversation with a person and becoming a propagandist for that person.
True. It's so funny because like this is very obvious, I think, to most people, but Ben has to be very careful here because they have the whole free speech thing. I agree with free speech, but everything's free speech. If you go on a platform and you start saying horrific racial slurs, that's free speech, and this should be protected on Twitter. And that's how a lot of conservatives think. They're not like, hey, it's basically, hey, this is a public platform. You shouldn't be going around saying racial slurs in public. Why should you be able to do that on a social media platform? Oh, but if you censor him, it's freedom of speech. So he has to be very careful. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's freedom of speech. But it's really not very good. It's like, wow, it's like mind-blowing. Thank you for telling us what we already knew, Ben. Incredible stuff. Just remember, you were complicit in not calling him out at his prime. It wasn't until it was safe that you started talking about him.
If you're a person, for example, who purports to stand for biblical values or American values or traditional values, you probably have a moral obligation, not probably, you certainly have a moral obligation to ask Andrew Tate, who is a self-stated bad man, hard questions about his actions and his beliefs and his past.
Well, nobody does that. When he was on there with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, they actually started sucking him off, like in person. It was crazy because their audience is like, you're sucking this guy off, and we don't like gay people or black people, but we're oddly turned on because the reason we don't like gay or black people is because we have fantasies about BBC, down our throat and just deep into our guts. It's incredible.
Not to, as so many on the right have, help him.
What do I think the reason for the sudden grift change, why conservatives are no longer supporting Andrew Tate? I think for Ben, it's because Andrew Tate was very outspoken being against Israel, and that's a big thing for Ben. And I also think that he's at his lowest. I think that's pretty much it. That's literally it. He's out at his lowest. I think that Ben knows as a conservative content creator, like when he has to turn the grift on, right? I was saying before, I think he's generally honest. This is the time where he had to, or he felt like he had to be on Andrew Tate's side indirectly back in the day. Now he feels like it's a safer hit. He might get a little backlash, but it's not going to have a negative impact on his career. So now he can finally say it's safe. It's just it's safe. That's what it is. It's safe for him to do.
Falsely rewrite his legal record or ignore all of the things he's actually said while nodding enthusiastically. See, here's the thing. Andrew Tate, now he's trying to play himself off as a politician. He's not. He's an influencer. He's an online troll. That's really what he is. Now he's trying to start some sort of party in the UK, but he's not.
Pretty sure, like, if he goes back there, he gets arrested. No,
conservative politics.
Well, I'm pretty sure once the whole thing in Romania is over, he's going to be tried in the UK next.
For example, trying to push conservative policies, where part of the job of the interviewer is separating out his agenda from his personal behavior. Like, what does the public get out of this person versus what they do in their private life? That is a question typically reserved for politicians. That's not what he is. He's an online troll, and he revels in precisely the evils conservatives hate. That is his entire, like, not some of it, his entire self-stated persona. If you don't ask about that, you're not doing your job as a conservative, as a traditional person, a person with actual values. Now, listen, I understand the appeal of Andrew Tate. I get it.
Come on, stop.
I've seen
this. This is the safe play. This is to say, I understand. I don't get it.
Stuff. He's really charismatic. And for decades, the hatred of traditional masculinity in our society has been so strong, so thoroughgoing throughout the media.
It hasn't. Decades. I will agree that there has been some negative perspective on masculinity. I would say that was really from 2020 to 2022, with some lingering from 2022 and beyond. You know, maybe 3 or 4 years. But for decades, like, come on. You guys need to be proportionate, okay? You guys need to be. I'm like, unironically, every joke aside, I'm a very masculine guy. And again, I'm sitting. The way I'm sitting makes me look like a big fat neckbeard. I am like a big masculine, 6'4", 320 pound, like fairly, like, I'm a decently muscular guy with like a deep voice. I look like your average conservative, which makes me laugh when people on the right are like, oh, look at this guy. They say whatever the word is, make fun of my appearance. I'm like, I look like you. But for decades, it hasn't been for decades. I think that, like, it's kind of weak to, like, give into it, because mostly just annoying people on TikTok. They're like, oh, but masculinity bad. Like, I understand that the general message is that too much masculinity can be bad. Femininity needs to be more valued, even in masculine men. All right, because it's very weak to not have some femininity, like the ability to empathize. It's a very positive trait in a male. But it's like it's the whole fear mongering. I don't know. It's like you're over sensationalizing the problem. There are some people who feel disenfranchised. There's a lot of noise, especially from people annoying young people on the left, especially on like TikTok, about like how men are bad, and it is bleeding into some of the media, and absolutely. But for decades, I just dial it down with the fucking. I feel like it's like too much. It's like too much of like a fucking victim complex, you know.
Throughout politics, from our institutions, from our colleges, everywhere, that people, including people on the right, have run away from traditional masculinity altogether, and they've sort of feminized what masculinity is supposed to be. Young men for at least a generation, maybe two, have basically been told they were useless at best and toxic at worst.
For how long?
Maybe two, have basically what masculinity is supposed to be. Young men for at least a generation, maybe two.
A whole generation? What's a generation? Like 50 years? What are you talking about? What? Okay, generations 20 to 25 years? No way. I'm 34. Nobody told me that, like, I'm fucking worthless. What are you talking about?
Have basically been told they were useless at best and toxic at worst.
I never heard this. I grew up in New York. I never heard this. I'm not saying it's not a problem a little bit now, but a generation or two, Ben, like, just put a girl on. 25 years, 20 to 50 years, dude. That's fucking preposterous. This is not happening. Okay, just because feminism became a thing because they wanted rights so they wouldn't get relentlessly beat by their husbands doesn't mean that that's an attack on fucking masculinity. That's preposterous. It's a victim complex. Give me a fucking break.
And that leaves a giant vacuum. A vacuum for somebody who can sort of cosplay masculinity. And Tate fills that vacuum with his form of masculinity.
Yeah, true, I guess.
But masculinity has good iterations, and it also has really, really ugly iterations.
Yep.
And the iteration that Andrew Tate pushes is not a responsible masculinity.
Yeah, it's an ugly one.
Traditional masculinity that is all about...
Why is it ugly, Ben? Because he's black racist? I got him. Clip that. Don't. I'm being stupid.
Channeling the sort of testosterone-fueled side of man into protecting women and children and civilization and building good things, but the kind of masculinity that tears everything good down, sort of barbarian masculinity that is interested in destroying rather than building.
I agree with this.
Now, Andrew Tate plays a WWE heel. He knows it. I mean, he's not making any bones about this. He released a video yesterday.
I would have just said WWF because that's the real travesty that they made them change their name because the World Wildlife Federation. Who fucking cares, dude?
Long 21-minute video, rambling video, sitting in a jacuzzi in cold weather, smoking a hookah, and basically saying that he wants to be the most hated man on earth and that he makes money off of that. And he's telling the truth about that. That part is true.
So
but here is the thing. Andrew Tate is, at best, a crap sandwich. He presents totally differently to different audiences.
I can't believe you're saying this 5 years after his popularity. Holy fuck, man. That's crazy.
So, for people, sort of traditional people on the right, when he's in interviews with them, he will present as a sort of low-rent, anti-feminist talking head. Doesn't know much, but he's saying the things that need to be said, bashing left-wing wokeism. And then, to the crazier side of the internet, he'll present as an anti-Semitic radical who's willing to violate any taboo for the fringes. And then, when he's sitting down...
That's really why Ben cares, because he's anti-Semitic. If he wasn't anti-Semitic, Ben would not give a fuck. Like, it's like one of those things truly where Ben does not care unless it directly impacts him. And since Andrew Tate is pushing anti-Semitism, that's why Ben cares. That's it. That's the only time. The only reason that he's calling him out, even though he has, like, that's it. It's because he's anti-Israel, and because it's safe to go after him now because his platform is diminished so substantially because of all the very credible allegations against him. It's the only reason that that's the only reason that Ben Shapiro feels comfortable making this video. That's the only reason that it is. And it's cowardice. It's so cowardly to pretend to be so harsh against Tate, which deserves to be harsh against, when your biggest complaint with him, like years ago, at his absolute most disgusting and worst, was that he made a joke about how he'd rather bang a 10 out of 10 trans woman than a 3 out of 10 cisgender woman. Like, wow, so brave, King.
Down with someone actually conservative, he'll pretend he's an upstanding person who cares about family values and that he's been out of the sort of scam business for. In the end, what he really is a con artist, and he's actually kind of an evil con artist. Not
when did you figure that out?
Kind of, if you believe the allegations against him, and there are lots of them, an actually evil con artist. Even if you just believe the stuff he said about himself, what he says is evil. He made his money off of cam girls, which is to say, he is a
censored pornographer, just so you guys know.
He is a self-professed pimp, and he made his money grooming women for the industry.
Wow, Ben, these are so true, King. Wow. Too bad it was only 5 years too late.
Now, all the people on the right who are very upset, correctly, about the grooming gangs in Britain are going to have to explain why they're okay with his grooming gang. Here was Andrew Tate explicitly explaining his method. Now he claims it's all a joke, but it's not a joke. He literally made millions of dollars doing this thing.
So yeah, on corporatate.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree.
I love this guy, guys. I actually have a traumatic brain injury, by the way. I actually have a traumatic brain injury. That's pretty much it.
Clever.
That's so fun. It's so clever. I've never heard that before, dude. Oh, hey, can you spell iCup? Oh, ICUP. That's so clever, dude. Oh, fuck. iCup?
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me.
So true.
Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me. And that's how I got rich.
Part of it was taking their passports and not letting them leave the house unless he was convinced they loved him enough to come back. This is a real thing. And I know that because people had released very heavily edited chat conversations of like two women who escaped Andrew Tate's like fucking compound. And in there, it was intentionally trying to make them look bad. It's like, oh, we should make a movie about it. They're just like joking around about their literal trauma. But one part in there, I remember reading, I was like, why would you leave this in there? And they're like, yeah, the Tate brothers are like convinced we love them. We'll be able to leave. And I'm looking at that. And I'm like, how is that not a red flag to you, stupid assholes? It's literally inside the release of the documents that they edited to try to make it seem like these girls were malicious. Why would you leave that in there? If they're only letting them leave the compound because they're in love, wouldn't that communicate to you that they are in an abusive grooming dynamic. Like what the fuck?
Okay, now if you know anything about the grooming gang scandal in Britain, that's exactly what the grooming gang scandal is. That's exactly what it is. They took underage girls, they would convince these young girls that the girls were in love with them, and then they would pass them around their group of friends for money.
Jesus.
That's exactly what happened in the grooming gang.
Should probably execute those people.
Gangs trials in the UK, which is a massive scandal internationally, as it should be. But I guess for Andrew Tate, then if you confess to doing things like this on tape,
and you're laughing about it, it's cool and based, right?
Like he just said, then morally it's somehow okay because you're anti-woke or something? Well, folks, politically, things are changing. You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim some fat from big wireless. If you're still on Verizon...
Okay. Let's see what it ad is, then I'm skipping it.
AT&T, T-Mobile. Why would you do that? I personally use Pure Talk. I can tell you...
All right, Pure Talk, guys. You want to go Pure Talk? Go find his video in the description of my video. Blah, 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 blah. Pure Talk, lots of ads. You know, me too, man.
Crucial. That's why I want to turn over to Zipper. About Zipper.
Oh, also, ZipRecruiter. If you want to zip up your fly and not rip your nutsack apart, go look at ZipRecruiter.
Is according to .com/dailywire. Okay, the latest in terms of his legal situation is according to the BBC. He's been placed under...
That's what they used to call me. Doesn't really make sense.
House arrest by a Romanian judge as prosecutors investigate new and serious allegations, including with a minor and underage persons.
He admitted, just to be clear, Andrew Tate admitted to sleeping with a child. I don't know if people know this, a 15-year-old child. Like, this is a fact. Like, we have the clips of him admitting to do this. Yeah, here it is.
Role in trafficking these girls to Romania.
You do when you're in my situation, where you have a girlfriend of 6 years, and you try and bring a new girl in. You actually have to downplay your relationship with the girl of 6 years, which is difficult. And I only get away with that because the girl of 6 years plays along.
So you've been with her for 6 years. Just to be clear, he's been with this girl for 6 years.
Vivian's been with me 6 years. Vivian's been with me 6 years. 6 years.
Remember this. He's been dating Vivian for 6 years.
She's completely head over heels in love with me. She wants kids with me, everything. And we met and we felt whatever, we're in love. But when a new girl comes, she'll go, oh yeah, I started off working for him and it's just how it worked out. She'll super downplay us so that the new girl feels like, well, they're just kind of working sad.
By the way, this is part of the grooming tactic. He's using a young girl that he groomed to groom other women into doing webcam sex work. This is like a real thing that he's done.
And now I'm here and he likes me and she can believe in her mind that she can be equal. But that's basically how it works. I've got my main bitch, my bottom bitch, Vivian.
But when Tate first pulled her into this business, it turns out she was young, like very young. In this course from 2019, Tate explains how Vivian was his first girl that he's been with for 6 years, when he first started the webcam business.
So yeah, that's how it started. I met Vivian in Slovakia. We had a long-term relationship thing. I was living in England. I moved her to England to be with me to start doing my webcam company, which I started. And you try and bring a new girl in. You actually have to downplay your relationship with the girl of 6 years. When I bring on new girls, I usually pair them with Vivian. Because Vivian's younger. Melissa's like 28. Vivian's like 21.
There you go. So he started fucking this girl at 15 years old. Disgusting. So that's Andrew Tate. By the way, that video is... this video from Willie Mack is a year old. It's a year old. Okay? Lock him up forever. It's a year old. This is a year old video. 1 year. It's an old... We've known this for a long time.
Allegation, by the way, is that he did exactly the same thing that the grooming gangs did with a 15-year-old girl. Prosecutors had asked the judge to remand the brothers in custody for 30 days. That would be him and his brother Tristan, while they continued a new investigation involving a total of 35 alleged victims, including a woman who was 15 at the time. In a statement, Romania's agency against organized crime, DICOT, said 6 people had been detained in total, both Romanians and foreigners. He, of course, says that 30 of these girls say we've done nothing wrong, which, again, that's not actually super rare in sort of grooming cases.
Yeah, no shit. Are you actually going to pretend that you know what grooming is then for once? I mean, why didn't you say so a fucking year or so ago? But like, yeah, that's going to obviously, like, they're like entrapped. It's grooming. It's like, there's a whole movie about this, okay? It's called Beauty and the Beast, okay? It's kind of real. I mean, it's like a Stockholm syndrome. They get groomed and then they like start to like the people that they're interacting with, whether they are good to them or not. Yeah, no shit.
That's actually the original perspective of many of the girls who actually were groomed in Great Britain by the grooming gangs. 2 are the mothers of our children. 2 have never even been here to Romania. Asked repeatedly by the BBC about the allegations of the 15-year-old girl and underage persons, he walked away and refused to reply. Now, these are new and separate allegations from the old allegations. The anti-organized crime agency in Romania says the accused were grooming vulnerable people who were then housed in different locations and forced to produce material for online broadcast. One of the
where he underpaid them, by the way. He would underpay them as well. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to withhold some money for taxes, never pay the taxes, and then give them even less money." You know, so it's just like there's no good part of Tate.
Foreign man is accused of forcing a 17-year-old foreign citizen to perform acts in order to make online video content. He's said to have kept all the $1.5 million in profit. The statement does not name him. That same man is accused of repeatedly having relations with a girl who was 15 years old when they met. And actually, there's a fair bit of tape of the girl talking about when she met Andrew Tate, allegedly. And if that tape is in any way correct, and if his own statements on tape are in any way correct.
Yeah, we just listened to his words, his actual words. So, yeah.
She was underage at the time. Some of the other allegations from the new allegations that are being brought include, according to the actual case that's being brought, quote, he was hitting the victim on the head with one of his hands, right on the temple, not on the face, and with the other at the same time, he was choking the victim.
Oh, I think that this was the leak that came out of him abusing the fuck out of a girl, and he was like, it was just bedroom role play when it was him abusing a woman.
Thus, an eye injury was not caused by blows to the head inflicted by the defendant, Andrew Tate, but was the result of immense pressure felt by the victim as a result of the strangulation. According to the victim, during the allegedly violent intercourse, she felt she was on the verge of death. This person provided the judicial authorities with photographs and messages relating to these injuries. Okay, these are pretty significant accusations. Now, maybe it's all lies.
Okay, we know it's not, and I know he knows it's not. He's just playing devil's advocate for a second, but
maybe all of it is lies. But
what are the comments like on the video? They look kind of good, honestly. They look like they're starting to agree with Ben. You know, because I looked at him before. They're like, oh yeah, he's kind of a scumbag.
Problem is that he said a lot of things like this on tape. So we'll have to see how that goes. And again, it's not just trials in Romania that are happening. There is also legal considerations in the UK. In March, both of the Tates were taken into custody in Romania on a new European arrest warrant issued by the British authorities. Those charges related to the arrest were made.
Yeah, nothing that we know about Tate is new. People are just finally accepting as reality. Well, yeah, because a lot of what happened in like the conservative perspective, unfortunately, has overly embraced conspiracy theory, and so now this is something that you have to go over a hump to an even greater degree. You can no longer cite reputable news articles or literally the words people are saying out of their mouths. In the case of somebody like Andrew Tate, because he is so far, he has encapsulated so many super far right people that believe that COVID was completely fake, climate change is completely fake, that the world is flat. Everything is a literal hoax. Everything is a pedophile ring. Everything is this. Everything is that. That's why it's been so difficult to be like, hey, you see this factual information? You see the words that Andrew Tate's saying that he like groomed he's saying he's groomed a 15-year-old. He's being explicit about it. No, that's fake news. Everything's fake. The election was fake, apparently. Ridiculous, insane conspiracy theory that these people are pushing. That's the people that are like really big fans of Tate, like actual like insane cultists that think everything's a conspiracy theory.
Made between 2012 and 2015 and include allegations of aggression. The Bedfordshire Police in England said at the time they were working with the authorities in Romania on an investigation into allegations of and human as well. So they're in a legal snafu. At the very least, the stuff that he has said himself on these matters is pretty terrible. Right? He is currently going on trial in Romania for both, and all while supposedly running for Prime Minister of Great Britain in order to stop radical Muslim grooming gangs. He is a Muslim. He's a self-stated Muslim, and according to his own statements,
that part doesn't really matter to me, but okay.
He was involved in grooming girls for.
Yeah, maybe he's the leader of those gangs. Maybe he's just trying to get closer to them. Hey, what's going on?
This is again, if his own statements about himself are, I'm not saying it, he's saying it. Here's Andrew Tate talking about exploiting women.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house to make me money.
Whoa.
That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
Right, yeah, that's another conspiracy that the government did the hurricanes to steal lithium from the mountains that they already owned. Yeah, that's so true, King.
Kickboxer, yeah, Playboy, pimp.
I'm happy with those labels so far.
But the majority of my money wasn't made in fighting. My money was actually made in the pimp game. Way to understand some.
I mean, this guy wanted to be really big and famous on Big Brother. Like he's been on Big Brother basically the entire time.
Basic concept.
Like probably the biggest thing that makes him parallel to Trump, and Trump is not even close as bad as this guy, but just to be clear, because Ben mentioned it before, is that they are both desperate to be popular celebrities. That's a huge part of it. Andrew Tate wanted to be on Big Brother. He wants to be popular. He wants people to like him, blah, 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 blah. He does all this bullshit. Trump wants the same thing. They don't have necessarily mainstream appeal because they're both shitty people. Again, Tate's much worse. So what do? They act like obnoxious, like fucking conspiracy theorist morons. And they basically push their own version of the Matrix and say everything against them is like a lie and it's fake and it's this and it's that. But yeah, they're like the same person.
To the pimp game. Basic concepts to the realities between men and women. Women need a man to do only. It's the same reason a woman need a man to do anything, because they're incompetent and they're very, very lazy.
Whoa.
And they're stupid. When you're pimping like me, it's a full-time job.
And Nathan Livingstone, who's kept tabs on this, has put together a lot of these videos that we're using right here. Now, Tate has then claimed in interviews with conservatives that
You shot him out, or what's going on?
Stopped his webcam business long ago, like super long. He stopped his webcam business.
He sold it to fucking Tristan Tate or something. He gave it to him. It's really not that deep.
Technically in about 2022. Okay, it's not that long ago, as you may know. And apparently he stopped his webcam business when he found a new grift, the thing he calls Tate University or Hustlers University.
Yeah, and he was getting too much heat for his other thing, so he had to stop.
Which is effectively a multi-level marketing scheme that is designed to spread social media awareness of Andrew Tate. That's basically what it is. So CoffeeZilla, who does investigations into sort of these MLMs and
whoa, CoffeeZilla shout out
and pyramid schemes, he did an entire investigation into Tate and what Tate does with his operation. Here's him explaining.
Most people know the Tates from clips talking about the Matrix, politics, and feminism, but the two brothers have made almost all their money from something else. According to Tate, the way they got rich was webcams. Taking advantage of lonely men, they bragged about it.
And me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking. The girls were just famoosers. We were taking their money, all of it.
That's really gay. That's like super gay. I just want to be very clear. I unironically don't think I could do that. You're hiring women and then you're having intimate sexual conversation with guys while sending them pictures of girls. Like, that's gay. You're gay. That's insane. Like, right? Like, I'm not crazy here. I would message we would sit down and we would have a screen full of men and we would just stare at their fucking cock and balls that they would send us. And we would respond, oh my God, that is such a big fat cock, daddy. You have such a big hard cock, daddy. Oh my God, this is so... That's what he's sitting here telling us that he's doing. I just want to be clear, that's a fact, okay? That's what he's telling us he's doing. That's actually insane. But you gotta love it. You gotta love it, guys. You gotta love it. Hey, breakfast of champions, I think. No?
And then they broke into male empowerment, which is ironic, teaching dating, manliness, and of course, money.
Yeah, and grooming.
You could join Hustlers University for $49 a month, where the best hustle was students reselling the course to their friends, which actually got the Tates quite popular because...
And then you just go and you basically clip farm Andrew Tate, which is like, I feel like impossible now because he's banned off like every platform, I feel like. Or maybe he's not. Maybe you can still work it on Instagram, but I feel like you can't really make that work on TikTok.
They encourage the students to post their videos everywhere.
And he continues explaining exactly what Hustler University is. Again, he's making a lot of money off Hustler, not as much as he says he's making. And Andrew Tate at one point said that he was going to be the world's first trillionaire and suggested that he was making something like $110 million per year. But when you actually dig into how much money he is worth, he had suggested, for example, that he owned a chain of 15 casinos. The UK Guardian found that apparently not. It's tough to find
who would have thought?
Out how much Tate's Romanian companies are actually worth. We can find tax returns for only one. Talisman Enterprises listed as a web portal business, which had 1.2 million pounds in debt.
Okay.
And so even many of the places he's declared are like his amazing...
Tate has legit as on Instagram? Oh, okay.
...castle in Italy. These are places that you can rent for like 800 pounds a night. In any case, here was CoffeeZilla explaining the Hustlers University grift of it.
How old is this CoffeeZilla video? Why don't you have it in the description, Ben? Just come back.
The main project Tate keeps promising, which is
this is old. We watched this like a while ago.
World token. All of those others, if you want to believe Tate, were just promotions. Tate claims that this is the coin he's actually behind, and it's tied to his paid course. It used to be called Hustlers University. Now it's called The Real World. Now, This has always kind of been the biggest part of Tate's businesses, this get-rich-quick scheme.
Maybe this is from 2 months ago. I feel like this is from older than that.
But the problem with monthly subscriptions is, of course, that people drop out. They leave. And so the Tates have always tried tactics to get people to stay.
Yeah, like they tell you if you failed, it's your fault. You just didn't do it right.
Like
this is the 2-month-old one? Okay.
That Hustlers University was closing. It's almost full.
We do have a cap. So anyone who quits or leaves at any time, if the cap is reached while you're not subscribed, you're not getting in. Don't give a shit.
That's it. We're closing.
We're closing.
But now the new angle is this real-world token.
Damn, just all day fucking manipulating people to give you money for nothing.
Okay. Tate is promising a crypto.
They're basically just fucking beggars on the street at this point.
Airdrop to people who subscribe and stay subscribed to his monthly get-rich-quick course.
This is also very important for you people who think you can join for a month and quit the real world and just go back to being a nobody. No. You have to stay inside.
Whoa.
To increase your rank, to get your power level. Because if you quit and then you rejoin, you lose all your power points. So why would you lose all your power points to save $49? It doesn't even make sense.
This is actually insane that he's basically running a gotcha game, except he doesn't have hot anime waifu big titty jiggling butts shooting guns game. I don't even know what that game's called. What the fuck? I don't even know what I'm talking about right now.
Okay, so Tate's new plan is that you buy a get-rich-quick course, gain power points, you have to stay subscribed to keep your power points, and then they say they will pay you a percentage that their school makes.
PP? I love PP.
The goal is that you can buy the token and own a percentage of the school. So imagine you sign up for the real world, you start to make money, you focus on your tasks, then you can invest that money in the real world token and get paid every single month a monthly dividend from the profits of the school.
All right.
Sounds great, man. I bet, guys, stock options. You pay this company and they'll give you a penny back a month.
I think I get it. So you got the people at the bottom. They're paying up into the course, into the school. Yeah. Then you got the people higher with higher power levels. They're making money from people at the bottom with the coin. And then all that money flows up. It's just kind of this nice little
triangle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a triangular tactic, of course.
Pyramid scheme.
Okay, so.
All right, that laugh reminded me of laughs from the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, like stop motion animated films for some reason, and I don't know why.
There is a person who is actually quite wonderful online named Zach Bonfilio, who goes by Misfit Patriot over.
He sounds like a real nice guy, man.
On X, and he put out a post saying MAGA has an Andrew Tate problem and it's a big effing problem.
Whoa.
Y'all better wake the F up and see what he's doing before he ruins everything we worked for. Stop acting like a dog who finally caught the car. We still have work to do and you're effing up. And Andrew Tate then replied to that, "Hello, Jew."
Sorry, this is ridiculous.
And this is who.
That's all he really needs to say for his audience because they don't like Jewish people.
Who Andrew Tate is.
If Andrew Tate wasn't anti-Semitic, Ben would not be making this video. Even though everything about Andrew Tate is true, if Andrew Tate was not anti-Semitic, Ben would not be making this video. That is the literal only reason why Ben is making this video. Just to be clear, okay, this is it. Okay, if he was just anti-Muslim, Ben would be saying 0. That's a fact. Okay, that's my fact.
He's a delight. By the way, big fan of Yahya Sinwar as well. So why exactly did the right embrace Andrew Tate in the first place?
You did, by the way. You were one of those people.
Well, because there was a 3-step process that took place on the right. First,
number 1, being very unpopular. Number 2, accepting anybody. Number 3, being pussies.
In response to the left hating men, the right delinked strength from virtue.
No, it's not about like the left hating men. It's about the right is a dying perspective, and so they grabbed onto anybody that they could. And the only reason that people like Ben say disavow them now is because the other guy doesn't like Jews. That's it.
Virtue was supposedly the thing that made you a cuck, that made you unable to defeat the left. What is conservatism conservative and all the rest? In order to defeat that, you have to do things that are not going to be virtuous.
That's literally Trump. We're explaining Trump right now, no?
Then the right actually linked strength with transgressive behavior because the idea was that it took bad men to stop bad people, which sometimes is true.
None of this is real, by the way. This is not how people didn't go, well, he's a bad guy, but you know what? They thought he was fucking cool and base and just a real man and all this other stuff. And then everybody else on the right, like you were fucking pussies and wouldn't say anything against him because you knew he had a lot of popularity. What you're saying is just not true. You're this is not what actually happened. He's just rewriting history.
But then there was the final step. Some on the right have now fallen into the trap of believing that so long as someone is purportedly anti-left, no matter what insanely non-conservative thing that person believes, from the wonders of promiscuity and mistreating women to standing for Islamic jihadis, all of which Andrew Tate has done, you can commit literally any sin, up to and including being a and be treated to applause. Well, this has to stop because it's stupid and it's counterproductive and it is morally wrong.
So base, King, where was this years ago?
It turns out that in a reactionary world, the pendulum swings back and forth.
I do feel some extreme and loud parts of the left did annihilate men of the West. I mean, not this word annihilate or alienate. Yeah, okay, sorry, I thought you said annihilate. Yeah, I guess. I mean, like online. It's like online kids. I don't know. I don't really care. I just feel like it wasn't as prominent as people are saying. I feel like we're overly sensationalizing how alienated men are feeling from the social justice movements when the majority of the problem really is technology completely removing all the previous tactics that men had to get women. Like back in the day, everybody was out and about and they were talking and they're this and they're that. And we weren't all online. And now everyone's online. Like, what do you do as a guy? Like, how are you going to hit on a girl? It's just like impossible. It's difficult. And I feel like that's the greater problem is technology. But we've blamed it on obnoxious, TikTok people who claim to be non-binary. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the majority of the reason, in my opinion. It's almost the same thing as like obesity. Like we're blaming all the food and stuff, which is true. But then like, what is it really? Like nobody's going anywhere anymore. Back in the day, you could eat like McDonald's like shit, but then you're getting up, you're going to work, you're coming home, you're going to the fucking shindig, whatever you're doing, you're moving around. Now everybody can just come home, sit down and do absolutely nothing. And they just eat and they just consume. I think the majority of our problems are technologically linked. And the technology has happened so quickly that we haven't adjusted and realized like, oh shit, like we need to figure out a way to deal with this problem. It's so quick though. Like the last generation before me didn't have that problem. I was the introduction. My generation was the introduction to the technological problem, and it's rapidly gone like so quick. Like boom, boom, boom. It's gone so quickly that like we don't know how to get a hold of it. That's the real problem, in my opinion.
Fourth, from wild, disgusting, terrible, radical feminism to sometimes wild and disgusting anti-woman trash. But there has always been in human life one constant. This is a conservative point. That constant is virtue.
Yeah, okay.
That's the constant. If you're covering for a self-described bad guy like Andrew Tate, you're doing it wrong. If you're traveling to Romania to let him lie about his grift and pretend away his legal cases and act as though he's a paragon of masculine decency, you are participating in the lie. If you spend your days shouting correctly about the evils of but not about Andrew Tate, you are, full stop, a fraud.
Full stop, dude. The Gen Zers will love that one. The youngsters will love that one.
And worse, if you're cheerleading Andrew Tate, that makes you an accomplice to what he's doing, not an open-minded person just seeking truth or asking questions. Well, to simplify, virtue actually matters. But if you want to find a better way to simplify...
Ben, come on. Hello.
For your business.
All right, what's this one? Hey, guys, ramp.
If you're feeling trapped in financial busy world...
so it's accounting stuff. Is there any substance left to this?
.com/Shapiro. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Terms and conditions do apply. Also...
It's got like fucking 40 ads in this thing.
Are you ready to jumpstart your health in 2025?
No. Not interested. Just kidding. I started 2024. It's just a slow process. That's it. That's pretty much it That's it on Andrew Tate. It was like 4 minutes of ads. You're not escaping the allegations, Ben, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, I guess the video would be good if this came earlier. But this is the only reason he's doing it is because he feels like he's safe. So